Do you want to learn how to earn commissions of up to 20% by laundering millions of foreign dollars?
Well, we can't help you with that. But among the many IT problems we solve, Barracuda's email security solutions keep email phishing attacks like this from entering your business network and any valuable data from leaking out. Reclaim your network like 150,000 other businesses have. To learn more about stopping email-borne threats, visit barracuda.com/email.
Donde and Page, Gutierrez and Blackistone. Hello, gentlemen. Today, good, not bad Warriors. Bad, not good Harden. Today on a very special episode of Seventh Heaven. And also,
when it's going to happen.
The Reali Curry Takeover Part 2. Let's do this.
Queen of the podium. Taking over the podium.
News of the day, the Bulls firing Tom Thibodeau, as expected. Jerry Reinsdorf's press release, lengthy and detailed, maybe not as expected, bemoaning a loss of the culture of trust. Jay, what do you think of it going down like that?
I thought this was a terrible way to do it. Why not just say thanks and good luck in the future? Instead, they did bring up all this cultural and organizational stuff. Well, guess what? The culture of an organization is usually set from the top. This goes to Jerry Reinsdorf, and this is a pattern of behavior from him. He can't just let people leave. This goes back 20 years when Horace Grant left as a free agent and Reinsdorf called a press conference to trash him on the way out the door. I think after all Tom Thibodeau did for that team and accomplishments through the injuries, he deserved better than what the
Woody Page
did him today.
Yes, I agree. I mean, Reinsdorf was trying to rewrite the Gettysburg Address or something. I didn't understand that goggly goop that he was putting out there. But this has been the tendency since toward the end of the season. We all knew this was coming, but they just let him hang out there for a while because they were trying to either figure out how to get some draft choices or money from another team, take your $9 million hit, get rid of him, let him, instead of kicking him in the butt, pat him on the back. 5 years running, they gave up fewer points than anybody in the league. He did his job.
Okay, Israel, was Tibbs wronged here?
He was somewhat. Listen, there's obviously two sides to this, and, you know, with Foreman and Paxson and Reinsdorf, I think those guys talked about them pretty well. But personally, I don't think this will stick to Tibbs necessarily because part of the problem is you look at the way he came in. It was his first head coaching job. He'd been in the league for a long time, but it's his first head coaching job. Immediately under pressure, he's got the MVP. He ends up winning Coach of the Year, 61 games, #1 seed. And so, of course, he's going to rely on those young players, put heavy minutes on them because he's under personally a lot of pressure. And then the communication, everything's just somehow broke down over the past 5 years. So it's both parties. I think Thibodeau moves on from this and still can get a great job and still will be a great coach and probably manage minutes.
Do you think this sticks to Tibbs in any way?
Oh, absolutely not. You're talking about a guy with a .647 winning percentage, been to the playoffs 5 times, sometimes with Derrick
Do you
Rose,
think it sticks to the Bulls franchise?
Absolutely. It's been with Jerry Reinsdorf forever. Look at the way he handled the Bulls situation. Look at the way he's handled the White Sox. This guy has been disrespectful to so many of his employees and disingenuous in the way he's done business and the ownership of his teams for a very long time. It's all about him. This has nothing to do
Well, I
with
guess here's the point, right? I mean, a guy could be a good coach, and you could not get along with him. The ownership has the right to say we're going to move on. Adani, does this stick with the Bulls?
It does, because I can see why it had to end for a lot of reasons, including some of the offensive shortcomings in the playoffs, but it didn't have to end this way.
All right. We've been warned. We're going to end that this way. We're going to move on to the Warriors.
Warriors.
Just the fellas now. Warriors. Just the ladies now.
Warriors.
Hey, what are you doing? Whoa. Steve Kerr. Frigid air. That's what he said. He's got a frigid air in his kitchen. Also, GM Bob Myers on the trip to the finals. I did not see this coming. Woody, what have you seen with these Warriors going to the finals?
Well, a number of different things. George Karl talked about it when he was here, that you get fewer possessions in the playoffs, and so running teams usually are going to be brought down. No, they raised their game in the playoffs. That's what we've seen out of the Warriors. Okay. Here was a team that took a guy who never coached before. They took these guys who'd been together, and they did. if he didn't see it coming, we could see it coming from last year that this was a developing team. I want to concentrate, though, on Green. I thought Green came through and really emerged, even though you think, Tony, that he's been a star all year. I saw a guy improve his defense in the playoffs. I saw him do a great job on Harden. I saw when he came in the lineup and they created a smaller running lineup that offensively and defensively, their efficiency just continued to be great.
Israel?
What I've seen, and it's more of a credit over the years, is just great individual player development. You know, with the MVP, obviously, going through, 4 or 5 years of just getting better every year. Klay Thompson was in the mix for most improved this year. Draymond Green is what he talked about. He was the butt of Bill Simmons' jokes, and now all of a sudden he's, arguably the defensive player of the year. Even guys like Festus Ezeli, Harrison Barnes, who was kind of an enigma and ended up being probably the most improved shooter in the league.
He was tremendous last night, wasn't he?
Exactly. So I think that's a credit to not only management for picking the players, but the previous coaching staff and Mark Jackson, and now this coaching staff taking them.
Kevin Blackstone, what do you see with these Warriors?
Well, what I see is that the idea that you can't win in the postseason because you're a three-point shooting team is now out the window. Those guys did that. We said that the postseason slows everything down. It didn't necessarily slow it down for them. And we also overlooked the fact that they play defense. A lot of those turnovers last night by James Harden were one-on-one defensive strips, not just bad passes, not just guys playing the passing lanes. This was the best defense in the league all year long and one of the best in the postseason.
Adonde.
What I saw was resolve. After falling behind 2-1 to Memphis in the second round, they win 3 straight to close out that series, including regaining home court advantage. We also saw versatility. For example, they went small to win Game 1 of this series, and then they used big lineups to counteract Dwight Howard and win Game 5 and finish off the Rockets in this series. So we've seen a changing definition of a great team. They can win by shooting outside, just like Stephen Curry can be a dominant player by hitting three-pointers and making timely.
And you wrote early this morning for ESPN.com that they were going to have to change again in this next series against the Cavs.
Well, they're just going to have to adapt. They can't be as careless with the ball as they have been throughout the playoffs, and they're just going to have to show a lot of defensive commitment. They can allow LeBron to score points. They can't let him make the other players great.
Well, the combination of Barnes and Green and Iguodala proved that they can take a high-scoring MVP kind of guy and hold him down. So if that's a peek through the curtain for a week from now, I think that's what you're going to see that they've developed in this series.
We spend just a moment here on Klay Thompson. Not just the kick to the face. Not just that he got okayed to come back, only to have blood pulsating from his ear. Not just that he said he was dizzy in the post-game interview. Not just that his father told Mike on radio this morning he had to drive him home and he threw up a couple of times. But that this is an issue again for this Warriors team after Steph Curry's injury 2 nights earlier. What are your thoughts on how this played out?
I don't think it played out any better than the Steph Curry situation. I think the Warriors handled it poorly in both situations. When there's a knee to the head or when there's a fall that's 7 or 8 feet that you are putting guys back in without taking them totally through protocol, I think is a tragic mistake that the NBA's got to look forward look into.
Now, in Curry's case, the protocol, I mean, we all know how that developed, and that was over 30 minutes and over a halftime where he was away from the game. Thompson's was different. Israel, what did you see last night?
Well, I don't necessarily blame the Warriors. I kind of blame the sport in general, concussions in general, because we don't know enough necessarily, and everybody's going to presume that we can do a concussion test and in 5 minutes those symptoms are going to show up. No, they're not. Obviously, they take longer to show up and to show themselves, and that's what happened with Klay Thompson once he had some physical exhaustion there. Now, did they do everything by the book? Could be. It could not be, but the fact is the book isn't completely written yet. Like, they have to figure out ways to deal with this concussion issue that isn't just simply, hey, go to the back and run around and see if you're okay, and then come back outside.
Kevin Blackstone?
Yeah, I think we all need to think a little bit differently about basketball. We have to think about it in some terms like football. We think about basketball as a contact sport and not a collision sport, but the 2 incidents that we're talking about were collisions to heads that, in fact, were unprotected. So I'm not surprised to see what happened to Klay Thompson afterward happened, and I was a little disturbed to see Steph Curry get right back into the game. I thought watching that game on television that had that been football, the next day a lot of us would have been very, very critical of the coach and the team for how they handled that particular player. So I think we need to adjust our thinking about head injuries in basketball.
Jay, you were there last night, so you didn't get the benefit of the replay that the viewers at home did. But what did you see? And after the game, talking to Thompson?
what concerns me is what we've heard both times with Steph Curry, how quick they were to label it something other than a concussion, a contusion with Steph Curry, a laceration with Klay Thompson, because they know if they do use that word concussion, that means the player's automatically ruled out of the game.
Of course, they're not mutually exclusive. You can have a laceration and you can have a concussion.
Right. But they're specifically avoiding the word concussion because they know everything that comes with that. And I think the problem is if you go to the other extreme and basically knock everybody out and keep everybody out every time there's a blow to the head and just deem it a concussion, then you're going to have goons roaming the NBA, hitting people upside the head just so they can get them out of the game.
But back to your point, the teams are trying to, and the Warriors is the team in this case, avoid using words like concussion. How should the commissioner feel about that, Woody Page?
I think you should start right now in the NBA Finals, have an independent doctor who's in every game that will examine the players and decide whether they belong back in the game. I also think Ariza's act was purposeful and could have been avoided.
Do you think the knee was on purpose? Does anyone else think the knee was on purpose? I guess we should have to address this now. Blackstone?
I think it could have been avoided.
Israel, you think it could have been? He could have pulled it. Adane? Was there anything to believe it was purposeful? Okay. I haven't heard that talked about that much. Adane 8, Page 6, Gutierrez 4, Blackstone 6. We've been Horn. We're taking a break. Coming up, this, and this, and all of this. Woody, if you're saying it was purposeful, does the league then have to now do what? Punish?
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Buy or sell.
For James Harden, the good news is he already has the beard for witness protection. The bad news is everything else. Jay, how do you view Harden after 2 for 11 and 13 turnovers?
You have to wonder about him in the moment of truth. Now, you can't discount his role in getting the Rockets there, but in the 2 elimination road games in these playoffs, he was 7 for 31, and then the 13 turnovers last night. He's got to do better, but he's only 25. He can do better.
Woody Page?
Well, I saw a guy that didn't deserve to win the MVP. The other guy did, but I'm not changing my opinion about him. I think he was trying so hard to take that team and carry him on his back, and he just went all in, and it didn't work at all.
Israel, do you
he
think
tried
this
too
sticks
hard.
with Harden? You think this taints Harden?
No, I mean,
No, I
this
think
is
the last
it's a
game.
bad James. It's a bad James Harden's game, but it's just a bad James Harden's game. It's not anything that worth changing your opinion. His game kind of lends itself to these sort of inconsistent showings. And by the way, you're on the road against the best team in the league in a clinchable game for them to get to the NBA Finals. I mean, of course they're going to.
And Blackstone? How about you? 13 turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the first MVP-like player to have a horrible playoff game. I remember Michael Jordan having a horrific game against the Supersonics when they played them once. But you know what?
But not
what it means
13
is that
turnovers.
next season. Well, no, but he was like 5 for 20 and had like 7 turnovers or something like that. It was really bad. Look it up. But let me. All I was going to say is all this means is that next year everybody's going to be waiting to see what James Harden does in the postseason, not so much in the regular season.
Okay, but again, in that game that you just want us to look up, Jordan versus Seattle, who won the series? It wasn't a series-ending loss like this.
No, it
That's what
wasn't.
we're
No,
talking
it was
about.
not.
But you don't think this sticks with Harden? Fine.
No,
We'll move on. Hockey now. 2 game 6s, a combined 12-5. It was like everybody was in agreement. There had to be 2 game 7s. Woody, Ducks-Blackhawks. Who's got the upper hand?
Well, I want to be the Blackhawks. I can go there and prove that once again I can win a 7th game. I got Patrick Kane on my side. He's able to score 17 points in elimination games. I got Keith Duncan. He is the hardest working man in show business.
Okay. I like that you refer to him by last name, first name. But the Kane and Abel got at least a smile from Blackstone, so I guess you earned that point. How about you, Israel?
I'm not sure if you know this, Tony, but I enjoy a Game 7, and I think in this one I would rather be the home team. I'd rather be the Ducks. You can talk all you want about the Blackhawks having been there in this situation. They lost 2 of their last 3 Game 7s, and the one that they won was at home, not on the road. So, of course, I'd rather be the Ducks.
Blackstone?
Yeah, I can't imagine any team sport where you would rather be the road team in a Game 7 situation. I would rather be Anaheim, and watching Bruce Boudreau last night talking about what was in front of him. I just fell in love with Boudreau.
We do this every year. The stats in Game 7s, home versus road. You know, it's not 50-50, but it's not much better than that. How about you, Adande?
Yeah, in hockey, you don't mind going on the road for a Game 7 unless you're going into Madison Square Garden. But the Blackhawks, I think, have it better. They showed that they're never out of it, like when they scored those 2 goals in the last 2 minutes in the previous game. Duncan Keith's playing half the game out there. He was +3 in the last game, so I like the toughness and resilience of the Blackhawks.
It's Keith Duncan, according to Paige Woody. Fire Cell 3, Adrian Peterson and the Vikings, part 23. No show at OTAs. Vikings say you play with us or you play nowhere. Peterson told Josina Anderson he's holding out for his future with Minnesota. Go Vikings. Israel, who do you believe today?
By the way, I've contended for years that Duncan Keith's name is backward. I'm going with the Vikings here because they would have the leverage in this situation, right? He's under contract for them. And, oh, by the way, he's not showing up for OTAs. I'm sure the Vikings are like, thanks, we don't really need you there. You'll be good.
Blackstone.
Yeah, this is the OTA story. You can Google OTAs all day long right now, and you find stories with every team about who's there and who's not there and who isn't there and why they're not there. This is unbelievable. I'm going with Peterson as far as for right now.
Jay, how about you?
I'm buying the Vikings having all the leverage. I'm selling the spin that we've seen from Peterson and his agent, basically trying to say, like, well, first that he's not going to play there, that he's going to force a trade. Now that he's just trying to secure more money to play for the Vikings. We know he wants more money. We also don't believe that he wants to be a Viking.
And Woody.
I'm selling both of them. I think that Zimmer's quote was outrageous, really. Yeah, you either go play for us or nobody. I think Peterson needs to resurrect his reputation. Just go to the OTAs. And Kevin, you say OT stories don't mean anything. Brian Clady just tore his ACL. The Broncos left tackles out. Don't give me those meaningless stories.
That horn came pretty quick for you, Woody, before I even get my hand on the trigger for the points. But now we're out of time. What's the last word? I guess that's the last word. Adande Gutierrez Blackstone, lightning round next. Coming up, the all-time Major League record set yesterday. Worst batter ever. Rory McIlroy's 80 at the Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open. Golf or something more, Adande?
I wouldn't worry about it being a long-term trend. He shows up in the majors. Sometimes these events, like the charity events, he might just say, hey, let's raise some money for the kids, and I really don't care what I shoot.
Gutierrez?
It's probably a little something more. It's probably a little lack of focus. I mean, this is kind of his tournament over here. And I would say, listen, it just goes to show you how great Tiger Woods was when he went however many years without missing a cut. And now
We're not bringing up Tiger Woods every time there's a golf story. How about you, Kevin Blackstone?
But you got to, because it was 7 years and 142. That was the number for Tiger Woods of cuts of making the cut. I mean, Byron Nelson and Jack Nicklaus were the only ones over 100. I mean, not even close.
I
think about that.
Not talk about that dedication to the Tiger Woods portion of a question about Rory McIlroy, Kevin Blackstone. But you lost the point. Dubai Duty-Free Irish Open? Anyone? Does that make sense to anybody? We'll move on. Baseball. John Lester's 0 for 59 to start his career at the plate, an MLB record. Baseball or something more, Israel?
Well, he's no Tiger Woods. No, seriously. No, it's something more.
All right,
it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing that and throw in an 0 for 5 in the playoffs, and this guy, he could be like a different version of Moonlight Graham, going his entire career without actually getting a hit, despite being up there a million times. I think it's amazing.
Did you say to start his career? I think he's been around quite some time now. What are you talking about? I mean, this is something more. It's baseball, and it's hard to hit one, especially when you don't practice it very, very much.
I thought you would bring up Babe Ruth's name just for the sake of nothing. Go ahead, Adande.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Noah Syndergaard, who had 3 hits, including a home run just yesterday. Okay. He's a rookie. He's already way ahead of John Lester. Lester's been at this too long to never have a hit. Never, ever, ever.
That's easy. You know what? Doesn't need to throw over to first base. Doesn't need to hit the ball. Just needs to throw the ball over the plate and get batters out. That's what he's thinking. Blackstone. Whoa. The next to go. Last word.
Did you intentionally go after me in this game?
Intentionally went after everybody in this game. Here's mutes for everybody. Adande Gutierrez, though. They'll be in showdown next. Straight ahead. The ghost of Riley Curry, back to haunt you sports writers. Ooh, you're on deadline, and I don't care because I'm too bored.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
It's showdown, it's Gutierrez and Adande, and it's Riley Curry. How much do you love Riley Curry? Do you love Riley more than your own children if you have children? And if and when you have your own children, will you name your child after Riley? Does Riley make the Warriors favorites in the finals? Over under 2 Nobel Prizes for Riley Curry, Adande.
Well, you have to appreciate her range. She's not just up there as a prop. She's all over the dais, running around the room. She's giving her gum to the PR guy, Ray Ritter. She's turning Bob Myers, the general manager, the executive of the year, into a nanny, carrying her out of the press conference. She has it all.
No, definitely big shout out to Raymond Ritter, the PR guy, for taking that gum and just not even blinking. But look, it's on Big Sean or some big-time rap artist. You're next. You got to sample her voice, right? She sang your song on stage. You got to sample her and put her in the song. Make her even bigger. Hip-hop stuff.
Name drop Big Sean there. Try to give a shout-out to your friends, Israel. You know what?
Not my friend.
Oh, he's not your friend. You want to start a war with Big Sean right now? Don is getting the face time.
Well, as long as we're talking about rappers, would you believe that Kanye West could attend Game 5 at Oracle Arena last night and yet not be the most talked about rapper at the game on Twitter? That honor would belong to Lil B, because he showed up, his Hex, the base god curse, in full effect. You saw the numbers for James Harden. You saw Lil B all over the place, including outside the Warriors locker room with a cigar afterward, as if he played a role in it, and maybe he did. I'm not going to take the chance that there's something to this. I have only good things to say about him. I believe in the power of the curse. After seeing him there, after seeing Harden be awful last night, the Lil B base god curse is...
All right, wait, Israel's got a problem here.
I mention a rapper and I get muted, and he does a whole FaceTime on a couple of them. That's not fair. I feel like I should get my.
What are you saying about Lil B, Israel? You want to start a war with Lil B right now?
Love Lil B. Nope. I won't even. I don't even dance, so I have no problem.
We do not negotiate with cursed terrorists. All right, Adani, nice win today. That's it. Gonna do it, folks. 23 and a half hour break. We'll see you tomorrow around the horn.
23 and a half hours of sleep.